Eli's boat.
Have you?
Yeah, his grandpa.
That'd be darn.
I wish somebody could see it.
Yeah.
The bottle was so bad. It's got a girl bottle. I hate that.
Okay, the City of Washington's Board of Adjustment is called to order. We'll have the call, the roll call, please.
Glenn Montal, Nancy Walkenhorst, Ardell Schillick,
Here.
Alan Whitworth.
Here.
Lloyd Meisner.
Here.
Susan Harms.
Here.
Sal Maniaci.
Here.
If you'll join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, the first thing on the agenda this evening is case number 180401.
You want to
Wilson, as far,
approve the minutes real quick?
oh yeah, I've approved the minutes of, what is it, December 17th? 27?
27, yep.
Do I hear a motion to approve the minutes?
I make a motion to approve the minutes.
Second?
I'll second.
Motion made and second. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
So moved. Okay, we'll move to case number 180401. Sal?
Yes, so this property located at 802 Rainbow Drive, I have it up on the screen there, and actually only part of it is highlighted. We get these maps from the county and this hasn't been updated yet, but if you remember, actually I guess it was last summer, we did an adjustment of this zoning for this lot that is, which I have on here. Oh, I don't have the zoning on here, sorry. This is C4. We adjusted it to include this whole lot, and council actually approved a boundary adjustment. So this is technically one lot, and that's actually what you see under construction today if you drive down 47. The variance they're requesting today is for the location of a commercial sign located on the western side of Duncan Avenue. According to the zoning code, we don't allow any off-premise signs for a message. If you have a ground sign, it has to be on the same property that the operating business is on. And so in order to put it over here, they need to get a variance. This parcel, and this is, I know this looks like a mess, this was actually the map we cleaned up to figure out where all these parcels were, where they were, the ownership map, is what I'm trying to get at. When we built Duncan Avenue, there was a lot of old parcels here from that original subdivision, so all this color code is where it went, and this red one actually went over to Mercy because they already owned this piece, I guess is how that happened. And so the new sign location is in this approximate location. You saw in your packet there was an approval from Mercy for them to do this, for Mr. Wilson to apply for this. And as you guys move forward, if it were to be approved, we just did one, was approved on Duncan Avenue further south a couple months ago as well. We just recommend the same conditions we did on that one. Go to this one, that it must meet all regular zoning requirements for size and location. So this isn't a variance for the actual size and location of the sign, or I'm sorry, the size of the sign, but just the location. And then it will only be available to the business located at 802 Rainbow Drive. And so essentially it can't be a billboard for other businesses to rent out. It has to be for that parent parcel. And that's really the only two recommendations if it were to move forward that we have. If you have any questions of me, I'd be happy to answer.
Okay. Is there anybody in the audience that's not in approval of this particular request? Any questions from the board?
No.
Okay, we'll go ahead and read it.
Okay. Whereas the board does find and determine that the property in question, 802 Rainbow Drive, is within the city limits of the City of Washington and is located in a C4 planned commercial zoning district pursuant to the city's zoning ordinance. And whereas City Code Section 405.060 requires that all ground signs be placed on the lot which the enterprise is operating. Whereas the applicant is requesting that the board approve a variance to place a ground sign on the western side of Duncan Avenue across Duncan Avenue from the operating enterprise. Whereas under Section 405.545.3G, the Washington City Code, the Board of Adjustment has the power to vary regulations that appear in the zoning ordinance of the City of Washington, Missouri, where such variance is necessary to prevent exceptional and undue hardship upon the owner of such property to the extent authorized by Missouri law. Now therefore be it resolved that the request to locate a sign on opposite side of Duncan Avenue, provided that all other ordinances and regulations of the city of Washington are met under the condition that the sign will not be utilized to advertise any other commercial message other than the business located at 802 Rainbow Drive. Ardell Shellick.
Yes.
Alan Whitworth.
Yes.
Lloyd Meisner.
Yes.
Susan Harms.
Yes.
By your vote, you pass the variance. We're going to move on to the next one. We're going to move to the last one. We're going to take case 180404, and we'll take the urgent care last. So let's move on with Gina Couch's side yard setback.
All right. So this proposal, this subject property is located at the corner of 10th Street and Jefferson Street, as you can see here, on the southeastern corner. The existing house doesn't sit exactly parallel, or perpendicular really to 10th Street or Jefferson. You can see it's a little bit diagonal as it sits to 10th. And so the applicant is requesting to, this is just a surrounding zoning, it's all R1B. There is some commercial across the street along Jefferson. Jefferson Street is a mixed use street. But the applicant is requesting to add a 31, what is that? So 31 by 8 addition onto the house, and since it is not perpendicular, you can see it gets a little bit closer to the property line. The existing house meets the 5-foot setback, but as you get to the edge of this addition, the new setback would be 3 feet 4 inches, and so in order for them to put that addition on there, they would need a variance. As you saw in your packet, there was a letter submitted by the neighbor to the south, and then there was also pictures submitted by the applicant showing, where the markings were, and you can see that actually this driveway does encroach on this property. So, looks like all these houses on Jefferson were built a little bit perpendicular, a little bit diagonal to that parallel line, and a little bit off-centered. So, if you have any questions of me, I'd be happy to answer. If not, I think Mark is here to answer any questions.
Okay. Mark, do you wish to speak for or against the?
I am for it. This is actually my drawing.
Do you want to? Okay.
Mark Frankenberg, Bishop Frankenberg, downtown Washington. All the houses on this particular block are very askewed to the property line, if you want to say that. And as you can see, that his driveway and actually part of his carport encroaches onto my clients. And we had mentioned maybe do a redesign, but she wants the side of her house to flow nice and have a nice looking house there. So we don't want to do some jogging around. So that's why I figured we'd come here and see if we can get the variance so she can improve her house and stay where she's at. So that's what we're asking, to approve this 2-foot variance. And I think if we probably go through there and look at the other houses, they're going to be pretty close to the sidelines as we go. We just didn't decide to do that at this time. So.
Okay. Anybody that is speaking against the variance, granting the variance? Any questions from the board?
Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. Okay, Sal, let's go ahead and read it.
All right. Whereas the board does find and determine that the property in question located at 1000 Jefferson Street is within the city limits of the city of Washington and is located in R1B single-family residential zone district pursuant to the city's zoning ordinance. And whereas the city code section 400.065 requires that all side yards to be a minimum of 6 feet in depth, whereas the subject property currently has a side yard setback of 5 feet, requiring the applicant to meet the existing setback for any new construction. Whereas the applicant is requesting a variance from these requirements by proposing to reduce the side yard setback from 5 feet to 3 feet 4 inches. Whereas under section 475.040 of the Washington City Code, the Board of Adjustment has the following power relating to variations: where by reason of exceptional narrowness, shallowness, or shape of a specific piece of property at the time of the original adoption of the regulations, or by reasons of exceptional topographical conditions, or other extraordinary or exceptional situation or condition of a specific piece of property, which conditions are not generally prevalent in the neighborhood, the strict application of the area regulations of this title would result in peculiar and exceptional difficulties to, or exceptional and undue hardship upon, the owner of such property. The board is hereby empowered to authorize upon an appeal relating to such property a variation from such strict application so as to relieve such difficulties or hardships. Now therefore be it resolved that the request to vary the side yard setback from 5 feet to 3 feet 4 inches is hereby granted, provided that all other ordinances and regulations of the city of Washington are met. Ardell Shellick.
Yes.
Alan Whitworth.
Yes.
Susan Harms.
Yes.
Lloyd Meisner.
Yes.
By your vote, you pass the variance. We'll move on to case number 180402, total access urgent care wall signages. Okay, Sal.
All right. This is another property that is also zoned C4, which is planned commercial, as well as the one on Duncan Avenue we just looked at. This property has had a development plan approved by City Council and is currently under construction. They purchased, this property isn't as large as it actually is in real life. They actually purchased some right-of-way from MoDOT and from the City of Washington and able to fit the parking lot that they needed on this site. And again, these lots haven't been updated yet from the county. But they are here today requesting a variance to increase the allowable wall signage on all four sides of their building. They submitted a full signage plan, and the ground sign and the pole sign meets the requirements, but they would like to increase the signage on all four sides of the building. So again, here's the zoning. You can see the property to the north is also planned commercial. That is the State Farm building. And then up and down, there's commercial, but they do face, and I'll show you how the building situation, they do face some residential units across Madison Avenue here. So here's how the building faces, is situated on the property. You can see this is actually what was added, this curved area. And so when I show you these elevations here, there's the north side, east side, south side, west side. And they are asking for an increase on all four. So this is the south elevation. The city allows, based on our 5% allowed, would allow 83.4 square feet, and they're requesting 106.9. And I believe this is to scale, so this would actually was what it looks like, but this. Could you repeat that again, please? Yeah, so 83.4 is what we allow based on the 5% equation, and they're requesting 106.9. Okay. And this is the south elevation, which would be facing on this wall. On the west elevation, this is the one that would be facing the highway. The city, we allow 74 square feet based on the size of the building facing this area, and they are requesting an additional 32.9. So that would be a total of 106.9 again. On the east elevation, this would be the side facing Madison Avenue. Based on the building face area, we allow 66.8, and they're requesting 86.6. So that's an increase in 19.8 square feet. And lastly, this is the north elevation facing State Farm, and we allow 76.3 square feet based on the building face, and they're requesting 86.6, so an increase in 10.3. And again, we don't count if someone replaces signs in a window, that kind of thing, but it's primarily the lit signs on the building that count against them. So here's the variance request as we go on each elevation, the addition on each one. Like I said, the signage plan that they submitted, there's no issue with their ground sign. It's just these four building signs that we caught they were too large. So when we told them that information, they requested to come back with a variance today. So happy to answer any questions if you have it.
Okay. Is anybody here that can speak on behalf of the building itself and the variance of requested? We come forward. I don't care, one or two, or three, or whatever it is.
Perfect. I'm Joe Godfrey.
No, it's all right. It's all right.
Oh, perfect. Yeah, my name's Joe Godfrey. I'm representing Total Access Urgent Care. I'm one of the directors. And the owner who was hoping to come tonight ran into a family emergency, so you're stuck with me tonight. I apologize. He wishes he could be here. I know some of you guys have probably met him before at a couple of the last meetings, but and Matt?
I'm Matt Herlick. I'm the owner of Excel Signs. I'm their project manager for all signage.
Sure. So at first, I just wanted to say thank you for having us here. We're very excited about the opportunity to come to Washington. You know, it's the farthest site, then it's going to be our 18th location, but we love finding communities that are growing in a quick rate and that are, I guess, prime candidates for us to fill a niche here, you know, for us to provide something that they don't maybe have. I know there are a couple of urgent cares here in town already, but you know, in general, our services tend to be far more extensive than some of those other options, in that we almost function as a low acuity ER. So we're very excited to kind of show you guys the difference and show you what healthcare can be about. So I'm happy to answer any questions, or I can give you a quick kind of description of what we're hoping to accomplish here today.
I have a quick question, just because I'm not sure exactly what you're asking. For the signage, are you asking just for like the building is, the size of the building is what it is, and it's just the actual sign?
Correct, yeah.
EAUC that's up high, and then
And then the total access urgent care, correct.
and that's going to be backlit?
Correct,
And so the size of the letters and all that is what is going to be expanded from
correct,
what we
correct.
allow?
And I know,
The building size is not going to, if we
Yeah,
say
n-
no on this, you just have to make smaller letters, or?
correct, yeah. Yeah, that's exactly it. And in fact, the reason we actually, we're requesting it on all sides because total access urgent care is one heck of a name. You know, when it comes to signage, the name is great, but when it comes to signage, 21 letters is far harder to create an appropriately sized sign for, a visible sign for, than it would be if it were, say, QT, which was brilliant marketing. But that's what we're trying to get to with this TAUC lettering at the corners. We're trying to eventually, you know, transition our brand there. But I think you put it up here, didn't you?
I did.
So we're still kind of in that transition phase where, you know, we want to be recognized as TAUC, but we're not quite recognizable yet. And so as we continue to create this you know, small kind of community of sites, we're using kind of this hybridized form with both of them on there. And so the problem with having 21 letters is that, you know, if you stand back 200 feet, it's very hard to see small letters when there are so many of them. So that's our goal tonight, is to kind of level that out.
Is that the only reason that you didn't plan to scale the signs back and meet the code?
So it is, and you know, several of the signs, I think, or several of the sides of the building, particularly the east and, yeah, the east side, I think, is the highest above those, and it's because we actually accounted for the parking lot as well. You know, when you have a building sitting as far back off of the property line as we do in that, you know, in the, let me think, the east and the south elevations there, it becomes harder to see that from a distance. So,
Could you bring up if you wouldn't mind, the drawing?
yeah, sure.
The
And
actual
sorry,
site plan
I'm
or
stealing
the-
your thunder here, so.
And on the east side, are you able to point to the east side? Because I know I always have.
Yeah, so this is the east side,
Thank you.
and this is the south side.
So we have,
Kind of faces
right, so that's,
Madison
like
Avenue.
that,
Yeah,
Madison Avenue,
right,
at a little bit of an angle.
a little bit of it.
perfect. So we have the parking lot, and then also between the parking lot and actually, the actual Madison, thank you so much. Oh. Don't worry, I won't hit you guys in the eyes. That really won't help us. So right here is where the sign will be going.
Actually, further in than that.
Is it
Yeah, it's the solid line here. That's a
There you
potential
go.
expansion area.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
So we have from this point to this point, I believe almost 140 feet. Plus right here, we have large trees going up and shrubbery here. So our thinking was that we know it is pointing residential, and certainly respect that, and believe me, the first thing we do not want to do is to upset our neighbors, or anyone in the community, but it is set very far back, and our entrance is right, am I looking at that right? Right.
Correct.
yeah, that's the entrance.
So as you pull in, that's the signage you see. Of course, yes, I'm not gonna be naive, you see it here, and you see it here, and you could see it from the north. I know this is State Farm up here. But really, when you're pulling in, and we're just gonna see a blank wall with no total access, that's what we're really not wanting to do, and really wanting that to be very well seen and viewed with the size ladder. So, yes, sir, that's why we went with the larger letters. The 85% of our buildings are this model of building. These aren't obviously on all of our buildings. 85% are on this exact style of building. And one thing Total Access does is their metrics, and we have shown, and there's also other separate studies shown, with the larger signage, that really does help with the seeing of the signs and being able to read them from a distance. Yes, sir.
Your entrance lines up with Caroline Drive.
Yes. Yeah,
Correct.
that was a requirement that we had as part of the
Yeah.
planned development, that they line up with Caroline Drive.
I think the traffic flow could have been a little bit more dangerous had we not, so it was a good idea.
I will tell you this, and this is something that Total Access does regret, and we fight. And I know there's a gentleman, we had a very nice conversation with him and some of his concerns. And the as he put it, the light pollution, which I get, I really do understand, is greatly dampered down by half of that sign, and the reason that is because it's blue. It was a poor color to pick originally. It's hard to see. That's the other reason we go large. Blue is the worst color you can pick because it matches the night sky. You can't light up a black sign. Next to a black sign is literally this color blue. So it is a very, very light. Now, urgent care in red, yes, it's urgent, it's red, correct, absolutely. But I will tell you that half of the sign is very dull and actually not all that bright. So that is one thing that we fight all the time and why we like the larger letters as well.
With the proposal you're making, tell me what the height of the letters and the width of the letters are in relation to what they would be if they would be scaled down to meet
Sure.
the regulation.
What side would you like me to start? You want me to start with the east side, sir?
Let's start with the east side.
They're
Okay.
all a similar scaling, so.
So right now, we are proposing a 28 and, oh, you have it up, do you have it up there? Okay, 28.5-inch tall letter, and it would be a 437, we'll round up, 438 inches long. So we are over 20 square feet of allowance. So the allowable is, I don't think we have.
66.8.
Oh, okay,
66.8.
I was looking for the inches, see if we have the inches here for, but
Yeah,
yeah,
right.
thank you, 66.8 is the allowable. Correct.
And what is the height of the letter?
That height, I'm looking for, I think that would be closer to, for the allowable. That, I believe, I don't think we have that on there. Doing a quick calculation, it would probably be probably a 25-inch letter, 24 to 25-inch letter. And then that would greatly bring it
Compared
in.
to 28.
Yes, sir.
Right.
Yes, sir. That would bring that down.
You consider that to be significant?
It's 6 feet, roughly.
Oh, I
If
do.
I've done my math correct, yeah.
But,
Are you selling these signs wholesale to them, or?
do I sell? No, I'm actually,
If we can negotiate that here too, that'd be great. Yeah.
Well, originally I did, but we've done so much with them. I'm actually one of their project managers now. So yeah, it's quite the relationship, let me tell you. So yes, that would bring that down to about that. But
So you're saying it'd be a difference in 4 inches in height, is what you're telling me?
it'd be a difference of about I'd say to be safe about a 3 to 4 inch difference. Yes. And doing the calculate, that's just off seeing a lot of these. We could get you those exact numbers tomorrow morning if you like. So
I don't need the exact numbers, I just
just
have
round
to
about.
visualize
Sure.
what we're talking about.
Sure.
And if you're talking 3-4 inches, if you take on the east side, you only have the vision coming from the homeowner over there, whoever that is, in the property line. Otherwise, it's from the street. And I'm sure on the east side, nobody will have any problem reading any of those signs at that distance. There was somewhere in the article you said you wanted a visual distance of 850 foot. Is that right?
That I do not recall.
I think, yeah,
How do you arrive at the size of the sign?
That's a great question. Partially is what looks aesthetically pleasing to the eye in the building, because the worst thing you can possibly do to a building for any business is have a sign that looks too small. So we want something that's aesthetically pleasing. There's been an enormous amount of research done. Actually, the University of Cincinnati in 2012 did a 100,000 person survey. They started in 2011. The most annoying thing to customers was signs that were too small. The rating was 81.2% of the people saying the thing that kept them going in the business or made a business reflect poorly upon the public was too small of a sign. Total access, yes. Every municipality we go into, this is the package that we ask for, because we found it to be very effective, and kind of if it's not broken, don't fix it. So it's worked extremely well for us.
Right. On previous sites with similar sign packages, we found that about 40 to 45% of our new patients come in because of the signage on the building and on the property, and you know, that scales down tremendously, obviously, when you diminish your sign packages. I mean, we actually, a couple of our locations in St. Louis in the county now have had some substantial problems. I mean, we went into Bridgeton and it was our second lowest, and I think we've gone back twice for variances, trying to resolve the problem because our business was failing in that location. So we do take this very seriously, and our goal is never to come in here with something that's ludicrous and insulting, but we believe that we've been able to come up with a product here that both complements the building appropriately. It looks nice, and something that wouldn't be offensive to the public.
And also, and correct me if I'm wrong, Sal, but I believe we were also allowed another monument sign that could be along Madison, 75 square foot. We chose not to do that. We thought that would be, there really wasn't good positioning, and the positioning we had really would kind of block when you were pulling out of the entrance, and we didn't want that to be interference with Madison. So
Corner lots are allowed a monument sign along each street. So a monument sign, a pole sign, it's smaller on Madison because it's not a highway. I think it is 75 square feet, and we actually allow up to 250 along the highway, 250 square feet.
And again, you know, it's also important to be mindful of that community there. You know, a white monument sign that's what, 7 by 10. You know, that's a pretty big source of light pollution and just light in that area. And I know, sir, that was one of your main concerns. You know, we're trying to be respectful and create kind of a halfway point and to be accommodating as well. So.
Lloyd, do you have any questions?
No.
Alan?
No.
You have none? Is there anybody in the audience that wishes to speak against the variance? Please come forward. State your name.
Yeah, no problem.
Hi, Dale Meyer, 1708 Madison. I live directly across from the building, beautiful building. The problem I have is twofold. One, light pollution. We already have 3 shopping centers in that area with their pole lights, and when you sit in the backyard of my house, which is shielded on all 3 sides from those shopping centers, you can almost read the newspaper at night. It's so bright up there. You don't need lights on. You can see whatever you need to see. And the second thing is, they've already been approved by the council to build the building with a sign package. They should have thought that they needed bigger signs when they went the first time through the process. Their signs are plenty big at 24 inches versus 28 inches. I mean, I don't have really good eyesight anymore, but a 24-inch sign, I bet I can see at 600 feet. And I was telling the 2 gentlemen that they're wasting money on signage. Nobody's going to see the north side because it's going to be below grade practically with that big wall they got back there and State Farms building. Nobody's going to see it. And on the east side, facing Madison, they don't need the sign because anybody coming down Madison or going up Madison or coming off of Caroline already knows what that building is. They don't need to know that it's a urgent care. So I think to increase the signage is just overkill. And there's only 2 houses on Madison, my neighbor and myself, that are going to be able to see those signs. There's nobody else that's going to see them. And anybody down on Caroline, not Karen, but Caroline, they're not going to see them either. So that's my only objection to the signage. Thank you.
Thank you, Dale. Anybody else? For any reason? Yes, sure. Surely.
And thanks, Dale, appreciate it. And you're giving us your opinion there. The one thing with, it's not so much the traffic coming off Madison and Caroline that we're concerned about. Of course, we want them to know we're there because we're their neighbors. It's them coming off Highway 47 and then going into the entrance. And we want that entrance. And you can go get from that, from Madison on the other way as well. So that's really more of what we're looking for. And, you know, and I am sympathetic with the light and the other businesses doing that with the lighting and them lighting however they are. But I just would really respectfully hope we don't get penalized for the other businesses and the lights that they provide and whatnot. This is urgent care. This is very important to us. Yes, it is a business. We're here to make money like everybody, but it is also those times that we really need to have the least amount of confusion, the best visibility for people to see us and to see us right away. And we are trying to work with taking away the 75 square foot monument sign. And yes, the letters have been proven. We have statistics on other buildings. We put a monument sign in. It was approved in Sunset Hills 3 days before Christmas. The site was failing, thinking about moving out of it, and January, February, March's numbers, March finally leveled out, not just because of the flu season, but that signage made a huge difference in that community and them know where we're at. So signage does make a difference.
When you submitted your application to the city, were you aware at the time that you were in violation of the code, of the signage code as far as the building was concerned?
As far as the size of the signs,
Yeah.
and what it was, yeah, Sal was great with us, and we had a lot of great conversations with Sal in that. But with where the buildings were and how the buildings are built, like we said, we build each building pretty much almost exactly the same. And we have found that the size of signage that we have put on them has worked so extremely well.
So when you submitted it, did you submit it for 24 inches or did you submit it for 28?
No, they submitted what you saw, what these plans that were submitted was submitted with the sign application. And anytime we get a sign application, we double check the math. And I contacted them and said, hey, the wall signs are a little bit larger. And they,
It wasn't pre-approved with us.
No, we understood that we were going to have to
You came in
come.
with this originally.
Correct.
Correct.
Yeah.
That is correct. Yes.
yeah, when council approved the original site plan and layout, the signage wasn't discussed. It was essentially, they would have to come in and meet the requirements or go through this process. You know, the sign plan wasn't submitted as part of the site plan, if that makes sense.
Do you go through this with almost every project that you do?
Yes,
Yeah,
pretty much.
we
I
do.
mean, where you want a larger sign than what the code requires?
It depends on the municipality, but in a lot of them, yes. We do. What do you think? I think maybe half, I would say.
Well,
Probably about that.
just thinking, I'd say probably a little over half.
Yeah.
We go with the variant, because this is pretty much our standard sign pack and then over. And we try to be very forthcoming, like we're not trying to sneak anything by with this, is what's worked for us.
Right.
Certainly respectfully come here,
Yeah.
seeing if we can do that.
And we personally don't believe that this is a waste of money or of an effort, because, you know, signage in our business can ultimately mean more than just, you know, whether someone is able to find us once, you know, or in an, you know, kind of in a sub-urgent manner. When it comes to our business and the acuity with which we can practice, seconds can matter. You know, missing a turn, not recognizing a building immediately for what it is, and for being the resource that it is can matter. You know, a good example is, you know, if a child has asthma and you're driving them to the ER or to an urgent care, and we can take care of that. Your kid is in the back seat or in the passenger seat in a car seat, not being able to breathe, and in that scenario, there's a degree of panic that comes into it. You know, in the ER, when I worked back there, we said that in an emergent situation, everybody's IQ drops by 40 points, and it's pretty accurate. I mean, and even to myself, it's accurate. But that matters in in a lot of ways, this signage helps to alleviate that problem. You know, this negates any concern that they're going to miss a turn, or that they're not going to be able to identify this as a place that they can come to in that emergency. So we do take it seriously, and we're willing to do this for every municipality we need to get what we think will help us save those lives.
A directional sign coming off of Madison, off of 47, seeing as you have to turn right there or left there, whatever it's going to be. Wouldn't that more or less provide about the same service that you're looking for as far as making sure that people don't miss your building?
It could on approach, it wouldn't from very far away. You'd have to pretty much be on top of the sign. We actually did view that. Actually, one of our first sign packages, the Total Access a few years ago was, you know, the arrow signs in the direction, you know, this way or and whatnot. And what we find is that people are really kind of looking more of an upward. That would have to be right on the drive. You'd have to basically be there already. What we're looking for is that the 1,000-foot view, the longer views, to be able to see the signage, not so much just right by the driveway. I know exactly what you're talking about, and it's a great suggestion. But yeah, with our 18th location, the signage it's worked just so well for us, very, very well.
Anything further, Lloyd? Nope. You got anything further?
I think I asked all mine.
Getting the cramp. Okay, Sal, you got anything
I don't have anything to add.
from your standpoint?
Nope.
Okay, read the,
I will add that you have the capability to amend this resolution. It's not an all or nothing. It can be individual sides, just so everyone's aware.
About that.
Yeah, it's not an all or nothing kind of deal. You can choose based off of if it's because of the residences or not. I mean, that's something that we could amend this before it's signed, just so everyone's aware.
So like the sides that are facing 47 and 100, that corner side could be the 28, and the other sides could be the whatever. 20.
Right, so essentially just, I would cross out the eastern elevation on this resolution.
What does that mean?
Sorry, yeah.
Well, I'm sorry, so this resolution, if I would read it and it would pass,
I see what
you would get all four, and then I would just, there's 4 variances on this one resolution.
I'm sorry, I got you.
Yeah, I would cross out that one, so.
And we're here to work with you. I mean, it's
Yeah.
just.
I mean, just in knowing the area, probably if there is an emergency and they weren't sure where that was, people are going to see it off of Highway 147, are going to look for it. Madison, they're going to know it's there because it's not it's not a thoroughfare that people drive through to get someplace,
Understood.
you know.
Okay.
They're usually from that neighborhood,
I'd,
I would guess.
I'd feel more comfortable with the variance if it only encompassed the south and the west side of that building. And the reduction as far as the north side facing the
State Farm.
insurance, State Farm, and the one facing the residentials
Yeah.
over there.
Out of curiosity, regarding the placement on the building, is that up for question here tonight? I think one concern that I had was that our goal was to put that signage on that north-facing side closer to the highway so that it would be visible from the highway route, as opposed to central on the building. Sorry, I'll wait
Yeah.
to get there. So we could shift that over farther to the west side so it would be visible along the other side, you know, the thoroughfare on that highway.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, the variance is just for the size, it's not for the location.
Yeah, its variance got nothing to do with the location of that
Oh,
building.
okay.
So that was our consideration, is that we're actually, I'm not sure how this one managed to make it in, but on a later iteration, it's shifted over farther so that you can actually view it from the highway. That was our thought there, and so that's why we maintained that larger size there. So I'm not sure how we didn't end up with the final iteration here, but that was our consideration, because right now, the way it's appearing, it's facing into a retaining wall, a large retaining wall that we just put there, so.
It's hard to see how that's gonna, I mean, it's got a funky angle, like if you're coming down Highway 47, you know, you can see that side of it, but it's hard to know how much of it, because.
Right, and so shifting it over, I believe, would give us a relatively clear view. And Mark, you may have to weigh in here, but
This darker line is a retaining wall, correct?
correct, correct.
So,
And so,
I think that's it. The other thing where we go back to the east elevation, The north really doesn't
Got it.
provide us a whole lot. We certainly want it. It doesn't really provide us a whole lot.
I can't see the benefits of that north sign,
Um,
nor do I see all that much benefit for increasing the sign on the east side of the building.
So if we went down in size on
I
the
think if you
east side-
became into compliance with the east side and the north side, or eliminated the north side, whatever you decide to do there, you know, I would probably then vote in favor of it.
Yeah, you could always, you're still welcome to put this, with or without their approval, you can get a signage on the north side. It's just, if you want to go above,
Sizing, correct.
yeah,
This side,
yeah.
Got it.
right. Certainly.
I would agree with that. I think
I have no problem with the fronts.
Go just,
I mean, on the south.
whatever the
or
regulation
the
side
west
is.
side.
Go to the
on
maximal
RV,
allowed.
And then the other one, I think would be
You
fine.
understand where
Sure.
it's coming from?
Okay.
to the, okay, so the east, that'd be the 66.8.
Yeah, so the east we would, max would be 66.8, and the north would be 76.3.
Okay. And then the towers and that could stay the same of what we're requesting?
Yeah.
Diane?
Did she say anything?
No. Mm-mm.
I'm
We,
sorry,
Sorry, was there?
we were discussing whether or not there was any problem with the insurance agency building, the State Farm, as far as your building was concerned.
Oh, in what regard?
I mean, did they complain about any of the problems or anything?
They
Okay.
haven't said anything.
They're not here, so.
Yeah. No, and in fact, I'm not even sure who owns that building. I don't believe we've talked to them since the very, beginning of our.
It's Diane Holding Housing.
Yeah.
Okay.
We sent them a letter, and
Yeah,
just like we
I
did
don't
the
think
rest of the
we've heard-
neighbors.
That's the main thing, he sent him a letter.
Yeah.
Right. So, as far as I was aware, everything was positive relations there.
Yeah.
Does it sound like that would that work?
Maintaining, sorry.
Again, I'm only speaking for me because rather than just coming up and voting no,
Sure.
I would vote that the existing proposal for the sign variance only take care of the south side and the west side, and the east side and the north side have to be made in compliance with the regulation,
With the regulation.
sign regulation. Can we do that, Sal?
Yeah, you can make that motion, and we'll change this up before it gets signed, but
You wanna ask Bob Dunn if he's got anything? He's a neighbor.
Bob, do you wish to speak anything at all concerning?
Sorry, I was late.
Come on up.
One on the north side, there's a building behind it, how would you see a sign?
Well, you want to come up to the,
Come on up, yeah.
My name is Bob Dunn, I live in the neighborhood 2 buildings away from this one. It just strikes me funny why you would want to put a sign on the north side of the building when there's
well,
already,
it isn't so much what we want to do, so much as what the owners want to do, and that's the proposal they're making to us tonight. They're proposing signs on the north, south, east, and west sides
I
of the
realize.
building. And it's, if we think that they don't heed that north side altogether, it don't really make a hill of beans on what we're voting for.
so in other words, as a citizen, I have no say in it then.
We're voting
Yes.
for whether or not those signs can be bigger on the sides.
Bob, the size of the sign,
The side.
and we're proposing that the signs on the south side and the west side be as they're suggesting a variance for, and we're suggesting that the signs on the east side and the north side be in accordance with the sign regulations as far as the city of Washington is concerned, which the signs would be a little bit smaller in height. That's where we're at.
I would like to ask the gentleman that spoke before against it, what your comments might be on the change in this.
Dale Meyer, I think that would be acceptable. I mean, the signs are still fairly large, and they're going to be 24 inches tall. And like I said, my eyesight's not as good as it used to be, and I still bet I can see them at 600 feet. And they're looking at 850. Well, what's the difference? I mean, that's not a lot of difference in distance.
Well, they don't have an open sight distance on the east side of 850-some feet because the
Yeah.
hill's
And-
right
and-
there.
And, you know, and they don't have it on the west side either.
No, the highway's there, though. It can be,
That would be out there in somebody's shopping center parking
Yeah.
lot. But the south, they would really have a good view, you know, coming up that hill. So I think that's acceptable. Thank you.
Thank you.
okay, any further from anybody before we, go ahead.
No, is that a problem with you?
No, that would,
Okay, we'll have to have a motion to make the change as far as what we're voting on. Have you got one,
Yeah,
Sal?
so it'd be a motion to approve the variance for the south and west side only.
Correct.
So someone wants to make that in second, and I'll read it off.
Is the south and the west or south and the east?
The variance, we would be approving a variance on the south and the west.
South and west is what he'd be
Oh,
asking for.
okay, I'm sorry.
Yep.
Variance.
That's the variance, that's right.
Okay. Do we need a second?
I'll second.
Okay.
Motion's made and second to have the variance be required for the south and the west side of the building only?
All right, I'll go ahead.
And anything, huh?
Well, I'll go ahead and read it without those two, and just for the minute's sake, and then we'll change it. So, whereas the board does find and determine that the property in question located at 1717 Madison Avenue is within the city limits of the city of Washington and is located in a C4 planned commercial zone district pursuant to the city's zoning ordinance. And whereas the city code section 405.030 allows a maximum square footage of 5% of the building face area for a building sign. Whereas the applicant is requesting a variance from these requirements by proposing the following. The south elevation, an increase of 23.5 square feet to a total of 106.9 square feet. The west elevation, an increase of 32.9 square feet to a total of 106.9 square feet. Whereas under section 475.0403G of the Washington City Code, the Board of Adjustment has the power to vary regulations that appear in the zoning ordinance of the City of Washington, Missouri, where such variance is necessary to prevent exceptional and undue hardship upon the owner of such property, to the extent authorized by Missouri law. Now therefore be it resolved that the request to vary the City Code section is hereby granted, provided that all other ordinances and regulations of the City of Washington are met. R. Del Shellick,
Yes?
Alan Whitworth,
Yes.
Susan Harms,
Yes.
Lloyd Meisner.
Yes.
By your vote, you pass the variance.
Thank you very much for your
gentlemen.
time.
Thank you.
Excited to be here with you in a couple months.
No problem. Good to meet you.
Any further business to come before the board?
Hope you never have to visit us.
Yeah, really.
Okay. Do I hear a motion to adjourn?
Make motion.
I second.
Motion made and second to adjourn. All in favor, say by saying aye.
Aye.
So moved.
Thanks, guys.
Glad you asked that, because I was thinking that too. I'm like, it would have to be the same signage all the way around.
I would think that if I was them, I wouldn't put up any signs on the north.
They may not.
Good, well,
I don't know what to see in that lot.
ooh-wee, I don't either.
That's gotta be the most expensive.
Lloyd,
lot I've ever
thank you.
seen.
Betcha. My pleasure.
I said, that's the most expensive lot I've ever seen.
Yeah, really.
I guess.
You can kind of see the area. I mean, it's kind of, they are.
Huh? It's better, thank God.
That's pretty bad. Especially for like a place like that, 'cause you are, I know, they say, I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah.
They build
I don't have a card on me. They're upstairs, but
Well, it would be, I got the building department's number.
Okay, yeah.
Because we call them a lot for re-inspections of
yeah, that
apartments.
1010.
Yeah.
I would call that.
think so, too.
Talk to Jamie, and she may be able to. I don't know what you're asking.
Well,
We may have it on.
signs are important.
Find it.
Well, there's a the property just to the north of
That north side, wasn't
Thought it
it?
was just increasing in size.
Let me rephrase it.
And the one on the east side is
The property there's a ditch.
Okay.
I'm sure
See, I noticed your sign the other day.
and
Do you
BFA.
have any signatures,
20 feet,
my dear?
less than 25
Okay,
feet.
thank you.
No, I think it's kind of fair.
So you want to get it down?
I want to get it down before Mother Nature takes it.
Okay. Yeah, hopefully we'll be able to find a survey. If not, then you may have to get one done, unfortunately.
Well, the county should have records.
Hopefully, yeah. If it's old enough, they may not mark. You should be able to measure it out.
I just, I'm just looking for property.
Right, measure it
You
out.
know, and I can say, okay, from this building to my property line is 27 feet.
Right.
Okay, the tree's at 24 feet. I know where it's at now. It's
Yeah,
on my
yeah,
property.
you can
If it's 30
verify it.
feet, then it goes to that gentleman's there.
Yeah, if we don't have blueprints, we should be able to find you at least a record plat.
Okay.
Because those would be easier to find than blueprints, honestly, so.
And ask for Jamie?
Yeah, yep, and just let her know what you're looking for, and then she'll call up to me and I'll find it. Okay, no problem. Okay. 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 Yeah. Hey, no problem.
All right, so just so Kara can get this thing.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just we're staying in reservation.
Yeah, so as long as she'll just put on there, just the same calculation she'll put on the other one.
68,
Yeah.
and they're on, so.
Yeah.
But more.
Yeah, she'd be good then.
It's their money.
I mean, the rest.
Yeah, in fact, at some of our other sites, we didn't have that kind of vibrant white background. We've actually had to add backlighting to it because
Yes, just the nice signs.
Okay.
They really tried to get attention, so.
Yeah, no, that's right. So that'll work. Yes, have Kara resubmit that, and we'll be good to go. And then your boundary adjustments on next week. So that'll be the last thing you have to go to. No, no, that'll be simple. It's just a consolidation plat to get all this together. The piece that we sold you, I don't know why they'll have an issue with. Yeah, we got P&Gs.
Oh, those are.
thank you for in fact, yeah, I was a little, I didn't quite park.
Nope.
All right. No problem. Hey, good to meet you guys. Hey, Mark.
Construction, right? Certainly is.
No.
So I wonder what they adjusted with that. Wonder what they adjusted.
I think it's something.
Oh. It always gets to that when you're, it's a popular corner, but you're trying to fit it in. Yep. Oh, wow. Okay. Okay. Try to keep you in line. Yeah.
But I'll go back to turn on, so let me know when you're ready.
Well, it's on. Oh, okay, okay.
All right. Good.
I don't think that would,
I need to make a statement.
I don't think that would help.
No, I don't think so. I don't think so.
Yes, sir. That's okay, I just needed to take care of it.
I'm hoping 8:30. Actually, I'm being optimistic. I think I'll be earlier.
Yes, I think that's good.
So, filled you in and said his phone was going upset. Great call.
Yep, yep.
And then they wouldn't have any control of what goes on, really. As a zone, whatever, well, the yard still has it's a salvage yard, but otherwise you could sell it and they could put up a building and you don't have any control over that whatsoever as long as it meets the code. Right.
I got an email from Claire.
Oh, yeah? You see Chuck's not gonna be here?
Yeah.
Okay.
With this.
Oh, okay, yeah. Yeah.
Hey, good evening, sir. How are you?
Morris. Good.
See you guys together.
Yeah, yeah.
Expected that.
Yeah, you can kind of look at it sometimes and say, okay.
Well, I'm gonna set this down.
I think that's
Caesar here, Councilman and Councilwoman. How are you?
Greg?
Right. Mark. Congratulations, Councilman. And, well, I guess you too. Yeah, yeah, okay, sorry, that's right. I forgot.
It was a hell of a battle, I'm telling you.
Was it?
I did.
Must be pretty nice when nobody else wants your job.
Right.
I don't know what that says.
See all those
What that
signs
says about the job or says about me, one or the other.
Out on the highway, and I said,
Oh, it's not
look at that.
The
team.
Don't take it personal.
That looked great.
Take a job that nobody else wants, I guess.
I remember
That's true.
the Tourism Commission.
Oh, it's all for the big bucks, you know.
Mary
Oh,
Wood.
yeah.
I do this.
Nobody looks
Absolutely.
at signs.
That
I'm
big
thinking,
salary
honey, I
you
don't
get every
drive with
year.
my computer, my phone on. I look at signs.
That's just it, right?
There are people
That's
that
it.
still look at signs. So I think that's a valid expense.
Where's your glasses? Carolyn, where's your glasses?
Well, I had cataract surgery.
Oh.
So I've turned into one of those old ladies with the glasses on my head because I can see everything until I go to read, and then I can't read.
Oh, okay.
So I have another 2 weeks, and then I go back, and they'll give me a prescription. and I can
then-
go with the half. But
Gotcha.
I,
Yeah.
you see any old lady with glasses on her head, say, "Did you just have cataract surgery?" And she'll go, "Yes." It's either that or the chain. John offered
Oh.
to get me a chain. I
Yeah.
said, "No, I'm not going there."
Yeah.
That is too stereotypical librarian. The bun and the chain. You know, that could be very ugly.
Yeah.
But thank you. My
I just-
brother, who knows which side to when to butter the bread thing, says, "Oh, you look so much younger."
Oh.
I didn't pay him either. Yet.
I better not go there.
No, I'm not. I just noticed the difference, put it
Yes.
that way.
Well, thank you. You were always a discerning fellow.
Oh, yeah. Thank you.
Some of those are no win.
What did I look old
before?
Yeah.
Can't win.
No. Good evening, Mayor.
It's good at telling me what to do.
Good. Oh, we just made it.
Bossy, yeah. But don't we have to vote on separately?
Yes.
I know, I saw
I
that.
thought Samantha's, well,
You know,
not feeling well.
Sherry's not here and he thinks he gets to
So-
do everything.
Yeah, he's got some back issues going on. But I
We have
thought
a
it was
quorum.
better. We were together with him Saturday night. They were
Yes, you do.
doing better. Well, I don't know. He didn't really say anything about it Saturday
What's that?
night, so I don't know.
Samantha said she'd be.
Oh, that's fine.
So,
Chuck?
Yeah.
no, right. Didn't hear about Tony.
Cannot do it. That's right.
Yeah, yeah.
That's what Tom and I.
Randy.
I told Sal I'd help him out. I told Sal I would help him out. Yeah.
We're not.
I'll do roll
What
call.
he wants to subdivide this into.
What now, Sal? What do we do?
Doesn't really say, does it? It'd be
6.6 acre lot and one 10.3 acre lot.
He went back to turn the TV on.
I wonder if he wants to do something with this
Figure out which one.
to avoid this.
Well, he's got the lights on, so that something's working.
He did that this morning.
No, there's another one there.
Where the driveway's. He's ready.
Computer in City Hall. It's in that closet.
There he is.
There's a MacBook Pro back there. It's the nicest computer we got. City Hall.
Just in time.
Buffer zone, you think, so he can
Hi
start
there.
doing
How are you?
what's up here.
Fine. We're popular.
Pretty hot,
Yeah,
isn't
we
it?
did pay the bill.
Pretty warm, isn't it? That's a tough one there. You gotta have 60 feet there. Fire lane.
Remind Brian that technically we're supposed to have
Because I
a
was just
design,
at a Board of Appeals.
just in case, because I think sometimes
Problem with that, it needs to be 60.
he has a lot to keep on
Oh, yes.
track. And
Good.
and it's better he gets a heads up.
What is
And
it?
I only know that because I can't be
Is
a
it?
quorum.
Congratulations on your
Third.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
you see, I forgot to
You actually had an opponent.
You would need 60.
That was a tough.
That was, yeah.
Well, what do you do?
Like the military.
You're in no wind.
Absolutely, right.
Yeah.
Step up and shot.
I need a volunteer, you.
You, that's it.
See what he says.
So,
Yep.
And now he wants me to get my special use thing going, or my special needs. He's been in every day since he's
Oh, my goodness.
come up with the rules and regulations for the code.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Call to meeting the Planning and Zoning Commission meeting for Monday, April 9th, 2018. Sal?
Tony Gokenbach.
Here.
Greg Scornia. Here. Mark Kleesner.
Here.
Mark Piontek.
Here.
Tom Holmeyer.
Here.
Sandy Lucy.
here.
John Borgman.
Here.
Chuck Watson. Samantha Smoody Wacker.
Here.
Carolyn Witt.
Here.
Good jobs. You got to say you're here.
And I'm here.
Okay. Please rise for a pledge of allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
First item on the agenda is the minutes from the March 12th, 2018 meeting. If you've had a chance to look those over, I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to approve.
I'll second it.
First and second by Mark. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So moved. Moving on to item number 3, case number 180403, special use permit, 800 East 6th Street. Applicant is requesting a special use permit for short-term lodging located at 800 East 6th Street. Sal?
Yes, the subject property is located at the corner of Hancock and 6th Street. You can see here on the aerial, and then in a zoning a little bit zoomed out, you can see it is R1B, single-family residential. The surrounding properties are all R1B, single-family residential. Just to the northeast is Krog Park, and you can see the intersection here of 47 and 6th Street, and it's on the other side of this block here. The applicant is requesting to utilize the property, special use permit for short-term lodging, or commonly known as, Airbnb, HomeAway, that kind of thing. We're not aware of any adjacent properties that are also utilizing that. There's no permits, active permits on that. Again, we've had a couple of these requests. Staff feels they are infrequent and don't significantly detriment the surrounding property, so we do recommend approval of this. And you can see from the aerial there is actually a newly constructed driveway, so there would be on-site parking for this specific lot.
Any questions of board members? Okay. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak? If you do, please come on up to the microphone, introduce yourself and where you live. If not, okay. Any further discussion? If not, entertain a motion.
Motion.
Second.
First and second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So moved. Items number 4 and 5, case number 180405, City of Washington, rezoning 800 Jefferson Street and 805 Locust. Applicant is requesting to rezone 800 Jefferson Street from M1 Light Industrial to C2 General Commercial. And case number 180409, City of Washington rezoning 805 Locust Street from C1 to R1B Family Single Residential. Sal?
Yes, so in this case, the applicant is the City of Washington. We own the subject property from Jefferson Street to Locust Street. We are currently in the process of having this whole area under redevelopment project. And just last week, council did approve a boundary adjustment on this lot. So I apologize, I don't have the newest maps that are not updated with the county yet. But it does look somewhat like this, those red lines, if you can see that. This portion here is currently 800 Jefferson. Was just cut out, or not cut out, this property was adjusted to create this lot last Monday, and that's the portion that we were wishing to rezone from M1 Light Industrial to C2 General Commercial. It will match the property across the street, as well as there's a lot of C2 up along Jefferson. The reason we're doing this is the portion we plan to go out to bid and sell, and we would prefer to sell it as commercial rather than industrial. Kind of make sure that the future uses, not that we would think a potential buyer would put in, industrial use there, but just to be safe, you want to make sure that the new user would fit into the area. So, and then secondly, the remaining piece of the property, just while we're here to be easier, we're going to rezone this to R1B, single family residential, to match this. Most of this is in floodplain. The floodplain kind of hugs up here. We're going to be doing some improvements to to Bush Creek to kind of hopefully get that floodplain lowered a little bit, but we are not planning at this time to sell this off. This will actually be the proposed location of the Bush Creek Greenways trailhead. So I think that's why that little piece is the way you see it right here, is because we're going to keep 20 feet under our ownership to keep that trail connecting to Jefferson, and then back here to a trailhead, parking lot, that kind of thing. And that's where we're requesting just to go ahead and zone that R1B. Oh, and it's actually this piece as well. So we own this, so this will be rezoned to R1B under this proposal, as well as this. And this currently, there was a house there that we actually tore down when we also tore down Frykes.
Any questions, comments of Darren by board? Really clean that corner up.
Yep.
For sure.
And we're hope to kind of clean up the area across Locust as well, so.
Anyone in the audience that would like to speak on this, please feel free to come up. Please introduce yourself and where you live.
Hi, my name is Cindy Warner, and I live at number 5 Wainwright. So that property that you're talking about is like right behind my house. I have a carport in the backyard, and I'm wondering, am I still going to have access to my carport?
How do you access it now? Off Wainwright or Jefferson?
Through that parking lot where Frykes used to be.
Oh. I'm not aware of any existing easement, but that's something we can definitely talk to you about and get in, if that's something that's necessary before we get anything platted. I don't think it would necessarily affect the rezoning that's being requested tonight, but it's something we definitely.
No, I'm not. No, that's fine to have a business there, but I just want to make sure I can park.
Right. I can give you my contact info, and we can.
Which house?
Which house is yours?
Sal,
do you know?
There's the lawyer next to me, and then, yeah, that's me right there.
So it's real long there.
The one with the tacky-looking carport.
So you access that now through that street, or through that
Right.
gravel area?
Yeah.
And that's how you get in there now? Okay.
There must be a vacated easement going through there somewhere off of Wainwright.
I wasn't aware of one. Well, it would be off of Jefferson, I assume. I'm not aware of one. When we did the boundary adjustment, the surveyor didn't dig one up. So,
Ma'am, how did you get access from there when you put your carport up? Do you know?
I've only lived there for a year and a half.
Oh.
So
that was
So it came
existing
with
when
the
you
house.
yeah,
purchased
it was
the
there
home.
when I moved in.
And did you have I mean, did the prior owner told you there was an easement, or how did you know
No,
that that was okay?
Really didn't think about it when I was.
Okay.
But that's all I have to say.
Okay.
Do you see a problem with that, Sal?
Well, we can talk to her about it, because like I said, the portion we plan to sell is actually adjoining her. So it'd almost be, if we, if something's not recorded now, have to be worked out with the new owner. So
it's a good thing you came.
yeah, and again, I can give you my contact info and we can meet, outside of here, and try to figure out what the best path forward is, so.
Yeah.
Okay.
Anyone else that would like to speak on this? Any other discussion by board members?
So can we go ahead and approve the zoning with this unknown yet,
Right.
council?
Yeah, it'll have to be resolved probably when it comes time for
Platting.
platting. Although there's been a boundary adjustment plat done, it will probably have to be replatted with some access easement or something there. But you can approve the rezoning.
Okay. Then I make a motion to approve.
We're going to do case number 18 first, 0405.
Okay.
If that's okay with you?
That's perfectly fine.
John made a motion to go ahead with the rezoning to C2 general commercial.
Second.
Second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Now we'll go on to case number 5, 180409, the rezoning of Locust Street from C1 to R1B, single-family residential.
Motion to approve.
Second.
First and second, all those in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? So moved. Moving on to case number 6, 180406, Ben Kinsel, 21 Design Group, Franklin County Recycling and Salvage LLC, preliminary plat. Applicant is requesting approval of a preliminary plat to subdivide property located at 1699 West Main Street. Sal?
Yes, so this application is strictly for a preliminary plat to subdivide 1699 West Main Street from one lot into two. I just want to be clear that it doesn't have anything to do with their prior request for the special use permit that was, I think here 2 months ago, maybe even longer now, it could have been 3 months now, that was denied and then was pulled from council, so it has yet to go back to the council agenda. They came in with this application, I believe, on March 22nd, and requested to subdivide the property into two lots that looks like this. You have lot 1 on the south side and lot 2 with the existing building on the northwest side. It does meet the checklist and the list of requirements for a preliminary plat. There are no public improvements required, subdivision improvements. When you submit a preliminary plat, we review it, and then before you can go to a final plat, we have to decide if all the improvements are complete. That includes primarily streets, water, sewer. Well, obviously, the street is complete. There is a sewer line that runs to the rear, and there's actually a sewer line on the front as well, but the water runs along Main Street. So all the public improvements are there. They have existing access. We did have, as you saw in my staff report, a couple conditions of approval that we wanted to get noted on the plat before it's recorded. The first is that we wanted to make sure we would maintain a fire lane between lots 1 and 2 for the existing building, because if this lot 1 were to be sold off, we want to make sure this access exists, because you can see that line hugs that building there. And so we recommended that it does say ingress egress easement, but we want it to also be noted that it is a 26-foot fire lane that is to be noted as such. So that way it can't be parking and there can't be a fence there or anything. It has to remain open as a fire lane and marked as such. And the second is that for this existing building, this is the detention basin on lot 1. You can see that's where that circle is. That's the lowest point of the original lot. And that's not an issue. We have buildings all the time with off-site stormwater detention. That's very common. However, it's normally done after the fact with an easement. And so since this stormwater retention would now be off-site for the building on lot 2, we are recommending if a condition of approval that this be located in a stormwater easement. And that way, if this lot were to be sold, someone just couldn't come in here and fill this in and then get rid of all the stormwater for this. So if this were to be sold and built on, or not sold and just built on, then plans would have to be submitted at that time to show where the new stormwater detention is going to be for this existing building. So essentially, where they wouldn't be able to fill this in or reconstruct that until they show revised stormwater either to the rear of each lot or separate stormwater systems on each lot. Those are two notes that can be made very simple on a plat just by reflecting on an easement and reflecting in the note. And so since all the other requirements are there, obviously they have the topographical, they have the surrounding property, they show what the proposed location of each lot line and how it's going to be accessed. It does meet the requirements of the subdivision code. If they reflect those two changes on the final plat to be recorded at the county, we see no issue with approving this plat per the subdivision code.
There's no problem with the lot line in the back northeast corner. There's no.
No, they'll have to have that easement. Yeah, the easement between the two, but
there's no setback or anything back there that needs.
Not for. It's technically a side yard, and for side yard and industrial, it's rear yard. We only need that 25-foot setback. Now, if they were to build, there's still buffer requirements. This is industrial to industrial, so there's no buffer between the two, but there's still buffer between this property line. If anyone were to build on this lot 1, there's still buffer requirement here on top of a side yard setback. That's why the buffer is more important, because in an industrial zone district, the side yard setback can be 0, depending. I mean, you have to have a fire lane, but if there's already 360 access, then the side yard setback can be 0 on a 1-story building. It's only when you get to 2 stories and above that you have additional side yard setbacks.
Any other questions or comments of Sal by board? Is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak on this? Please come up, introduce yourself.
My name is Ray Frankenberg, and I am representing the opposition. I'm not sure if there's anybody, is that okay that I go first, or?
Yeah.
Okay, I was expecting to have somebody come up and speak for this. I am representing the neighbors, is how I refer to them. We were very unorganized when this thing came before you last time. I wasn't even here, and after that I got involved, and I'm trying to lead this charge. There are about 20 of them that said that they would like to make sure that I did come in and help out with this. We have 47 homes that I'm representing in what I call the neighborhood down here, and we're all concerned, very, very concerned about our property values. I would like to come at the next meeting and talk about that, because this is supposedly not what we're talking about at this meeting. But I do disagree with Sal when we say it has nothing to do with the special use request that's happening. I believe if you look at this, the dimension between the property lines is just over 185 feet for a reason, and that is so that they don't have to notify any of the neighbors when they make an application. They will be conceivably making an application on the northwest lot that you're looking at, and with them owning the 185 feet beside it, they will not have to notify the neighbors or anybody else. We found out about this meeting on Saturday morning. I looked on the website and there was no agenda or no notice of this meeting, and I looked in the paper in the public notices and also couldn't find any notice of the meeting. So I want to make sure I put that in the minutes that I wonder if this was properly noticed so that we could come and respond. And for that reason, I'm going to ask that we table this to the next meeting to make a decision. But if you can't, I mean, that's your decision, not mine. When this was passed or went through the planning and zoning the last time I went on to city council, it was pulled off the council agenda on the day that it was going to go to city council. Shortly after that, they started constructing the site plan that they brought before you at the plan commission meeting. They put in the location for the loading dock has been dug out. They've done the grading along the edge so they can put in the screen fence. And essentially, they're moving forward with an unpermitted site plan. So we are very worried, and we're keeping a close eye on it. As I said, this neighborhood consists of about 47 homes. 2 of those homes are vacant and for sale right now. We have a population of just over 110 people out here that have asked me to come and represent them tonight. Several of them are here in the meeting. I did type up an email to all of those 47 homeowners that I'm representing and keeping informed, and then tried to drop off a copy of that email at their houses this Saturday and Sunday. So as many of them as could make it have come, and as I said, I would like to come back at the next meeting just to kind of present our case as to why we do feel that there is significant damage to our home values that's potential from this. So with that, I'm going to go through my checklist real quick and make sure I've said everything that I wanted to say. Again, these are all homeowners, some young, some are old, that we've invested a significant amount of our lives and our income and our retirements in these homes. And a home next to a scrapyard is not going to have the value of the home that was next to an industrial lot that is properly maintained and follows the codes. It takes a special use permit to do the outside storage and to do recycling on this property. And what I'll show you at the next meeting, if you allow me to come back, is why that's so important on this property. They did go door to door and talk to the neighbors, and unfortunately, it was what leads us to be so angry about this. They told all of the neighbors, including me when they came to my house, and I live a couple houses away from this, outside of the 185 feet by about 50 or 60 feet my property is. But they essentially told us that if we didn't support the scrapyard, they were going to put a hog farm there. And you'll hear that a lot tonight. So threats and coercion and deception like this are what we're worried about, and the reason that I'm here. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else that would like to speak? We are just talking about re-subdividing tonight, not the special use permit. That will not come back to us.
Well, and that was a question I had of Mark, is that since this is now going to be 2 new lots, I didn't know if it would send it back.
He'll have to come back with a new special use permit application for the new lot.
Yeah, so essentially if this were to be approved, since the site plan that was submitted with the original special use permit would be null and void because it was on a larger lot. So if this were to go through, we'll come back with a new special use permit site plan showing the property line down the middle. We'll resend out the notices, but I mean, as Ray mentioned, most of those would be out at the side of the 185 feet, but we'll still follow the same protocol we did before.
Is there something with the website that, I thought we put the meetings?
We normally do, and that was an issue. We had some changes in IT that didn't get put up this time. But I mean, it's not a requirement of the state to have the meeting, but it is something that we try to do as courtesy. Unfortunately, it wasn't put up this round, so I apologize about that. They will be put up in the future.
For clarification.
Yep.
Preliminary plats do not require a public notice.
Correct.
I just want to make sure that that's very clear. We do not typically do that. We do it for variances, we do it for rezonings, and we do it for special use permits, because those require public hearings.
Yeah, the only requirement under state law is that you post a notice of the agenda at least 24 hours in advance of this meeting, and my understanding is that was done.
Correct. Yep.
Is there anyone else that would like to speak? Come on up.
My name is Robert Sander. I, again, live into the subdivision and have been welcomed into this nice, quiet, nice area that's there. We moved in right as Sporland was leaving, and again, as now it's there, we have lots of noise again throughout the day for this. I would like to, again, readdress Ray's point that deception has been a lot of part of this. And again, as they are technically correct with their over 185 feet to meet your rules, but as you say, again, they're skirting your rules by needing easements and other things that will affect that, so they can get out of not having to tell us after coming around to us on a weekend during family activities and stuff and telling us that there was going to be a hog farm next to our properties. So again, just that, I think, is you see the corrections of the line. That's where the line is drawn there, not to what it will functionally be, that driveway, and what you also said was required for a fire lane. All right. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Tim Hogg, I live at 10 Laura Lane in that subdivision. Just want to reiterate the comments that, again, at the last meeting I was at, I don't think it's an appropriate business for this. And I think this dividing of the lots is trying to get around the rules. I was one of the ones that they came to our house, and they did say that if they didn't get what they wanted, there would be agricultural, and they mentioned a hog farm, they mentioned a kennel, or low-income housing. And they had a list that they allegedly got from the city that was things that they could put in there without going through planning and zoning. So you can see why we're being cautious, because I don't know the people. We just met them a couple times, but I hope this buffer is something that you guys take into consideration. And if you need to continue with more information at a later date, I would be here also too. So I appreciate you voting no if you do vote today.
Tim, who was the person that came to your home?
Mr. Gardner and his brother.
Okay. Thank you.
Oh, wait a sec. Do you want to, as far as putting a hog farm in?
Right, so, and we gave a list to the applicant. As part of our new code that was adopted last March, we have that zoning matrix. It has hundreds of uses in there. We printed that out, and it does show what is allowed in each zone district. Agricultural uses are permitted in our industrial zone district because primarily our industrial zone districts, our industrial zone properties are agricultural until they're built as a factory or some type of manufacturing. So that's the reason the code is written that way, is to allow properties who we anticipate to be industrial one day, to allow to continue to be, farmed until the company decides to build on them. So it is correct that the property on each of these lots that they were created could house a handful of agricultural uses, as well as other industrial uses that don't require a special use permit. It's the outdoor storage and the recycling that triggers that. Now, I will say, I think we have other ordinances in place. We have nuisance ordinances that I think if it really were to come down to it, our police department can enforce nuisance ordinances that, if that were to become an issue.
But Sal, there wouldn't be anything that would prohibit the current owner from leasing out, say, a half or some percentage of the current building that's there now for some other type of manufacturing? And
no, as long as it's general manufacturing, they can lease it out and fill that building with a tenant. They would have to get an occupancy permit, just like any other building. But yeah, they could lease that out to another use.
So you want to come up and back, in the back there, and then we'll get to you next.
Hello, I'm Jeff Gardner. I'm the owner of 1699. When I went to everyone's houses, knocked on the door cordially, real nice, and I tried to do it where it was a little bit late at night. I wanted people to be home. I knocked on the door in the middle of the afternoon. Most people did not answer. Okay? I did say, when I went to the meeting, I said, here's the list of everything that would be far worse than a recycling yard. I did not say that I'm going to put a hog farm in tomorrow. I said, these things would be far worse. I said, I want to be nice to everyone out here. You guys are my neighbors. Everyone over there is my neighbor now. I own the property. It's not owned by anyone but me and my older brother. Well, he's my signer too. So, and that's why I went to all these houses. I did not say that I was going to ruin their lives or do anything else. I said there's a lot of other things in here, and I said, unfortunately, I have to divide the land because my lease payment or my bills in that building, when I'm not in that building right now, it costs me $30,000 a month. Me not being in where I need to be, okay? I explained that to every person that I went to their house, and I said, I have to divide the land, resell it, and I said, then you won't have your green space behind your house. Unfortunately, that will not be possible because I have to sell part of this land or move it, lease it, build another building on it, or whatever the case may be. I don't know who's gonna go in there. I'm gonna lease it out to whoever's gonna rent the building is what I'm gonna do behind their houses. That's why I wanna divide it so I can get my new plat so we can decide on whether we're gonna build a new building on that property to keep them divided. That way I can potentially lease out the other one. If my next planning and zoning and city council meeting doesn't go as planned, then I will potentially have to build a building there to lease it out or resell it behind their houses. That's the reason why I'm dividing the property, is to not go bankrupt on this whole deal. Not gonna lie to you. I'm not a big company. I mean, we $1.2 million a year, that's it. And then we got employees, income, buying all the resources and everything else. So, is there any questions for me?
When you proposed the subdivision of the property, why did you cut the driveway off of the piece that you wanted to keep and decide to shunt it into the new part between the homes in your building?
That was what my architect counsel said. That's what he would do with his property. I'm going to walk through and I'm going to send out an email to everyone too. Whenever we have another meeting for planning and zoning, which hopefully will be next month, I'm going to set everyone. I want to see everyone to see my fence, to see my gates. I'm going to invite the entire neighborhood. I'm going to email Ray at his office and let him know to contact everyone too. If he has 114 people or whatever his potential neighborhood is, most of the people that was there, I know this ain't about the recycling, I'm sorry to keep on going on, but most of the people there, I'm gonna invite everyone. I want everyone to come over and see. I want my excavator to be running behind the building. I want everyone to know that the train, when I'm running my excavator currently, is louder than my excavator. And it's right behind the houses also. I want everyone to be able to hear that. I'll shut my entire operation down at the other recycling facility, bring over my excavators, let them run behind this fence so that no one can hear my noise. And I'm inviting Sean too, Sean Mayhall. I talked to Sean Mayhall this morning at Lowe's. He said to come on over and we'll have a discussion. I went to everyone's house. I'm trying to be as cordial as I could. So if anyone else has any questions. Anyone from the back?
We'll get the questions up here. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Anyone else? Come on up.
My name's Jeff Wachowski. I'm at 7 Laurel Lane. And just to that gentleman's point, kind of what the neighbors are feeling is exactly what he said. We're putting this in, but here's the other things that could be worse. You know, you start out a relationship like that, you're not going to get good vibes. So the gentleman's point that owns the company, I live directly across from where this is going on, and all day Sunday, I could hear construction going on. Got home tonight, I could hear construction going on. And with a new plant in there, potentially picking up, scrapping, everything else, the train's nothing. You know, these were just bobcats going back and forth. So I guess our point is when you start out a relationship of this is what we're doing, but it could be worse, you're going to tick off a lot of people. And I just hope you guys, you know, take that in consideration as far as.
Yeah, I just remind everybody, we're just looking at subdividing. We're not looking at a special use.
But to Tim's point before, the zoning and pulling it back away from us, so potentially we don't have objections because we're going to be too far away to object at that point.
No, you won't be too far away. Nope.
And it'll still be a public meeting. Anyone can come and
Yeah.
speak at it. It's just you won't get a letter.
Okay.
That's.
But we'll still have a say in it.
Yes.
The 185 feet really doesn't have anything to do with this anyway. That only applies when we're rezoning the piece of property, which is not going to happen here.
Okay.
If there's a rezoning, you notify everybody within 185 feet. If you get 30% of those people who oppose it, then it takes 6 out of 8 council members to approve it. That's
Yeah.
not the situation you have here. That 185 feet is completely meaningless here.
With the rezoning.
Yeah.
I mean, with the
Only applies with
re-subdividing.
The rezoning.
Yeah.
It doesn't have anything to do with the re-subdivision. It doesn't have anything to do with the special use permit if he comes back and requests it.
Okay.
So how does it work to get the idea that if you get so many petitions, so many
That's-
signature, that you would get a supermajority? But
That's
does that
all-
null and void
Right,
now?
that's only if he was gonna come back and request to rezone that property. Then it kicks in.
But he's
But he's not
requesting
re-
a special use.
Well, he hasn't even
He's not-
requested.
Not tonight even.
All he's
No,
asking
tonight,
is
but
a
I mean
re-subdivision.
eventually. He doesn't
If he
need
comes
rezone.
back and asks for a special use permit, that 185 feet requirement doesn't apply anyway.
Okay.
You can have 100% of the neighbors within 185 feet oppose it. It doesn't trigger the supermajority voting requirement.
Okay.
And I did have one more question. The current construction going on, is there any stipulations on when that can occur?
Oh, I don't know if.
I'm just wondering, like I said, it was all day Sunday. I left my house at 6:30 tonight. I'm sure it was going on all day.
Well, 2 points. I mean, we did sit down with the applicant and let them know, that about them being able to move into that building without approval of special use permit.
Yeah.
And
I'm
they're
just
aware
talking
that
about
they
the
can do.
current noise.
With the actual construction, we do have an ordinance on construction times. I think it's 6 a.m. to,
Yeah,
Darren, if I look at.
it's 7 a.m. to 9 p.m., October 1 through May 31.
Okay.
There you go.
And any day of the week?
I think so. I don't see anything
All right.
that says you can't do weekends.
I appreciate it.
Yep, thank you.
Thank you.
Now, Sal, I have a question. Do
Yeah.
they presently have a permit for the work they're doing in that building?
Not for they may have an internal one for.
Internal demo, right?
Yeah, internal demo. They don't have an occupancy permit, so our building inspector has been in and walked through it a couple times to know what they're doing, but they have not gotten a permit to occupy it. So it's basically the construction that's going on. Yeah, the construction that's been going on is for the internal demo, and they also got a grading permit to do the work in the parking lot in the back. And then there's I think some grading being done on the eastern side. And we also gave them a permit for the fence itself, because once you're over 8 feet, you do have to get a building permit for the fence to make sure it meets wind loads and everything. And that's been issued as well.
Thank you.
Anyone else that would like to speak? If not, is there any further discussion? If not, I'll entertain a motion, and I'm abstaining from voting again because of possible conflicts.
Well, since this is strictly a subdivision application, I move for approval.
I will second if that includes the conditions for the 26-foot
Correct.
fire lane easement
Correct.
stormwater restrictions.
That's what my
What those
intention,
stipulations about the fire lane and
what the staff recommendations are.
Okay.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
No.
All right, 1 no. All right, thank you. Moving on, it'll be at the city council.
It'll be at City Council on Monday, the 14th, so a week from today.
To subdivide.
Yes, for the final plat, just for the final plat. Yes.
16th?
16th, I'm sorry.
Okay.
I'm looking at a calendar. There's one right in front of me.
Moving on, item number 7, case number 180407, special use permit, 1403 South Jefferson Street. Applicant is requesting a special use permit to operate a roadside stand on property located at 1403 Jefferson Street. Sal?
Yes, so the applicant has requested a special use permit to operate a roadside stand on this property at 1403 Jefferson Street. Under city code, if you're operating a roadside stand, food truck, we kind of have them in the same definition. Roadside stand doesn't have to be a permanent. Once it's in one location for longer than 10 days, it does have to get a special use permit to be there on a more permanent basis. And the applicant is requesting to do that here. They have not placed it in this location yet, but they're under the assumption they're going to be there longer than 10 days. So I think they're just doing this preemptively. It is the espresso coffee truck from Exit 11. So the parent company is just up the street from where they're proposing it. You can see from the surrounding zoning, this is actually zoned C1, light commercial, but the type of use that they're requesting is under general retail restaurant. I mean, a food truck, even if it was a full restaurant, it would be permitted in that use. You can see here's Exit 11 where they're at now, and then here's the proposed coffee truck. And they are proposing to put a approximate 300 square foot trailer on site. If you remember, we looked at this about a year ago. They were thinking about going out in sports. It's the same site plan. They just didn't end up utilizing that special use permit. That one was approved, but they're wishing to go into this location instead. They do show it'll have access on each side of the trailer. The only extra requirement that we have whenever something proposes a drive-through is that they have 5 car stacking, and they meet that within the needs with being able to pull up on each side. This current building doesn't actually have an active occupancy, so there's no issue with them taking away some of the parking. In the future, if the owner of this property would wish to occupy this building and put another use in, and the food truck or the coffee truck remains, they would have to submit a site plan at that time and show a new site plan to make sure it meets the parking requirements. So it's actually in their benefit for now that there's not an existing use there.
The property is currently for sale, is that correct?
I am not aware of that. The applicant may know, yes. Yes, it is. The property is currently for sale, so.
Sal, I don't know if we talked about it the last time we had this come up at N Sports, but is that trailer permanently affixed or strapped down, or is there any?
I do not believe so. It'll be mobile. Yeah, mobile.
If you would, come on up. Introduce yourself, please.
I'm Scott Garland. My wife and I own Exit 11. This is going to be a food trailer, so dual axle, 16-foot long, removable, nothing permanent about it other than just it's going to have all the health department's requirements.
So, Sal, the city doesn't have a requirement for a trailer like that to be strapped down for wind load or anything?
No.
That's what I'm.
Yeah, I mean, standard building codes, but no, it's once it gets, it doesn't have to be on a foundation or anything. I mean,
Right, but it can be a mobile home basically, and not.
Well, yeah, it has to meet, if it meets the health department codes, yes. Yep. I mean, it doesn't have to be, tied down.
Wouldn't want to see it tumble across Jefferson Street, I guess is my point.
I mean, it's kind of like a food truck, but not a drivable thing,
Yeah,
right?
it's
Okay.
Yeah.
6,000 pounds,
Okay.
dual axle.
It's just, if someone were to store a trailer on their property, it's very similar. They don't have to.
Okay.
Any other questions of this gentleman? Thank you. Is there anyone else in the audience that would like to speak on this? Any further discussion by board members? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll move, that we approve.
First, is there a second?
Second it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So moved. Thank you very much. Moving on to item number 8, case number 180406, preliminary plat, Front Street Development. Applicant is requesting approval of preliminary plat for Front Street Developments, plats 2, 3, and 4.
All right.
It's been a while since we've seen him in here.
Weeks.
Yeah, only a couple weeks. So there is a lot going on here, but I think it's actually helpful that Andy has submitted these and kind of cleaned it up and is going to do all the plats at once. So we're going to have plats 2, 3, and 4. I'm going to work my way from east to west, and 4 is actually going to be one that we looked at previously. It's going to be amended a little bit. So what we're looking at here is everything that was included in the original Front Street Development TIF, with the exception we have actually added these properties to the south. Originally, these properties were not included in the TIF, but they've been added in this plat. Excuse me. So here's the overview. It's just going where all the lots are. So Front Street Plat 2 includes what we've actually already seen part of along Market and Front, but this new garage, the new townhomes on Main that have been added to the TIF, and then the 3 that were originally part of it as well. This is kind of L shape is Plat 2. Plat 3 is the rest of this entire block between Main and Front, Jefferson and Market. And then lastly, Plat 4 is the amended plat, which I'll get to for Front Street Development, which is the 8 townhomes that are currently under construction, including La Dolce Vita. So here is Plat 2. So just to give you, here outlined in red is kind of where we're looking at on the map. We previously approved lots 1 through 4, when those are the ones with the L-shaped lots that we had to do in order to get them. With the right-of-way frontage, they've adjusted a little bit to make sure we have, they meet the setback here. They got a variance to be, I think, 4 feet from the property here, so they've adjusted that. And then, if you remember, we vacated a portion of, we vacated all of Front Street, and a portion of it is now under easement. For us to have access, we needed the water line, and then for them to have a front yard. And then there's also a cross-access and fire lane easement along the back here of the rear of these properties, where those L-shaped properties are. What's been added since last time you've seen this is this Lot 5 is a garage that will access Market Street, and it shows the cross-access easement here into that garage. And then separately, as the topography changes, it slopes up. This will be a little bit higher, I believe. There are now 9 townhomes that we didn't have previously. So it goes up to Lot 14 for the whole plat. And these will all face Main Street. They'll have the right-of-way on Main Street. This one, because of the length, will have its 26-foot fire lane in the back, as well as its parking, ingress and egress easements. And this one, because it's short enough on the corner, will have an easement into the back, cross-access, but it doesn't need a fire lane because the fire truck can park here and reach around each side. It's less than 150 feet. Moving on to Plat 3, this is the lot in the center here, the entire block. This one's really more of just an adjustment. They are creating this to be one larger lot here, where it'll be a parking lot. It's Lot 2. This is the existing Speckles lot. Lot 1 is the existing Mraz property, and they actually cleaned it up. Originally, this is actually a public alley that will remain for now. That is actually owned by the city. This property used to cross over the alley, and so they actually own property on each side. So they've actually cleaned that up now, where this is back a little bit cleaner ownership, and it's actually one of the items in the TIF report that this whole block had lots that didn't facilitate development. So they're cleaning that up to make it a little more clear. And then this is the lot they're consolidating here to make it a little bit longer for the parking garage and the 4-story building that'll go on top of it. The only comment we have here is there is a stormwater easement that's proposed that will run under all of these buildings. Or will actually, it'll run through the alley, cut close to the Mraz building, and run under the new building here. We don't necessarily have an issue with that, but the only condition of approval we have on this plat is that it cannot be dedicated to the city of Washington. It's not going to be a stormwater easement dedicated to us, because if there is an issue there, it's under that condo, or whether it's an apartment building, it's going to be on the property owners and not for the city to get in there and fix those pipes if it fails under the building. And lastly, wrong way. Plat 4, this was one we already looked at. You remember, this is what's under construction, Lot 1 through 8, and then Lot 9 was here. Originally, all of these lots went down for the entire property, the length of it, and there was just a cross-access parking, fire lane, ingress-egress easement. They've now decided, because there was a piece here, that now all of these people just had to share, because La Dolce Vita didn't go all the way down. It was easier to create this, subdivide it one more time, create one more lot, and make this a piece of common ground. So now it's not owned, they don't own property all the way back, and it'll be common ground for the entire plat. All of the original easements are still there, the cross-access, the fire lanes, the parking. All the notes are still the same, and essentially it's only a change on paper. So we have no issue with that. Actually, it's a little bit cleaner for property owners in the future. So that's really all I have for that one. Out of the 3 plats, we only have one condition of approval is that typically on these plats, you'll see a note that says all easements dedicated to the city of Washington and to the public. We just want to make sure this one is privately maintained.
Finished?
I'm finished. All right.
Any questions, comments of Sal by board? If not, Andy, you want to have anything?
Yep. You can click second, back and forth as well.
Andy Understall, Front Street Development. Yeah, we had to make some adjustments on a few things here. This is, I guess we'll start with this site here. That stormwater, that actually goes through the parking garage, is where that's passing through. It's actually not under, it's still under the building in a sense, but it actually passes through the parking garage and not the other side from the property behind it. And so it's collecting water on my property here. This is all a commercial lot. This lot right here is all going to be a commercial lot. We're hoping that to build probably a 4-story building on there would allow some parking around it. That would be, maybe like a retail space on the first floor, a restaurant, and maybe a 3-story like boutique hotel on top. That's what we're hoping for. We're working on design for that, and then. So this stormwater basically, it picks up the stormwater from here off of Ed and Linda Moreau's out of this alleyway and then passes through the building out to the side. Really no other place to go with it. I'd rather not have it go there, but we're pretty much limited. And then so basically here what we've done is we're trading Ed and Linda some property. This here, they own this original property right here. We're giving them some property here so that they're, they back out of their building here. They have some parking spaces plus some extra distance behind their building. And down here in the corner, we have a transformer located that feeds their building and our building. It's a new three-phase transformer. And then we have a transformer on this corner we put in right in here that feeds this new building here proposed, and across it goes over to Modern Auto and feeds Modern Auto. So all that stuff is in place, but so those easements there for all that to tie all that together. So. And then this lot, so we created, there's 3 units here on this lot, and then there's 6 units that are on the other side of, okay, yeah, these 6, there you go, thanks, so. So these 6 units here, so there's 9 units that are these are all 2,000 square foot units. So they'll sort of be one subdivision in the sense that they'll have one homeowners association that they share, for snow removal and stuff like that. And what we ended up changing on this, what we had before, was we proposed these lots going all the way back. Well, my attorney kind of advised me that that wasn't the best way to do that anymore, that common ground and cross easement and all that really should just be common ground and be an easement for the whole subdivision, so that there's no issues later that hey, there's potholes on my property, I don't want to pay for it, or if the way the subdivision picks up all that cost. So it kind of puts everything in the subdivision that's maintained, and basically which is just the driveway in this case. So on both sides. This side over here, they're going to share half the driveway. This part of the driveway is going with these units, and there's another part that goes with this new building that sits here. It's also a 26-foot wide drive there too, but not really required, but that's what it is. So, and then on here, last time I was in to visit with you, we kind of had a bust between the architect and the site engineer. We didn't catch it, and they were using the old site plan with the buildings on it. And once we re-subdivided all this, they plotted the new buildings on, and I had told you that I would not build on that 5 foot of property in the front here, that you let me, it used to be a 25-foot easement, and then we took it down to a 20-foot utility easement, and I said I wasn't going to build on it. Well, when I got the plans back, they had pushed into that 5 foot right after, when we platted the units on the lots. And we also lost part of our parking in the rear. So we were 8 foot short of property, so I ended up having to push this property line back here to the south 8 foot. So it was just kind of a miscommunication between everybody what was happening there. And then it left a piece of property here in the center that was kind of unusable, didn't know what to do with it. So because all these units are so small, I'm proposing we have like 4 garage doors that face to the north here in this piece of property, and then a door on the side with some inside storage here that we could rent out to someone, rent out to people for just for extra additional storage in that building. And it also, because I have to do a retaining wall through here and right along here will be a retaining wall, and this will be a retaining wall. Well, rather than do a retaining wall, I can do a foundation wall, which will act as my, as my foundation and my retaining wall. So we're at half the building is sort of built already, So instead, we're going to put a little storage in there and create 4 garages and and then some indoor storage in here. So there won't be there's 1 set of exterior doors, all would be on it, and it'll be a brick building just like everything else that's down there is going to be. So.
Is that mainly intended for the use of your residents, or?
Yeah, it'll just be for the use of the residents.
Okay, so it's not like it's not a self-storage
No,
facility?
it's not. There's only going to be probably maybe 6 or 8 spaces in there, and then the 4 garages, so.
Okay.
Yeah, it just kind of was this spot. There was really nothing, a whole lot to do with it without building a bunch of retaining walls, and then I guess I could have left a little more green space there, but the property was, I paid pretty much for the property to start with, so I figured this gives some extra value. Besides, I'm kind of saving this unit for myself, and that gives me a garage behind me. I have my own, I'll be honest, I'm a little greedy with that one there. My wife says I don't need it, but I'm like, well.
So the corner of Front and Market, then, what is, there's the building with a parking garage under it? What is that?
Yeah, this one that's going to be right here.
Yeah.
right here.
Yeah, that.
That's going to be a 4-story building, parking, true condo parking garage with flats in it. So you'll have, on facing the river, there'll be 4 units. Facing the river, that'll be 3,000 square foot. And then facing Market Street, there'll be some 2,200 and 2,400 square foot units that face Market Street. And there'll be 6 of those.
So
There'll be
how many
10 total.
units in the building? 10 units?
10 total, yeah, in
Okay.
that building. So there is, I think 20, so it's 8, I think there's 16 parking spots in the building, and then behind the building with this shared little street right here, right in there, there'll be, there's like another 5 or 6 parking spots on the outside too for that building. So everyone will have 2 parking spaces in that building. We were gonna take that building up to 5 stories and put a penthouse on top, but just the numbers just didn't add up, you know, the market, just to market that space and, you know, just to build it, you know, maybe to break even, it's not really, it doesn't pay, so we're just gonna keep it at a 4-story building, so. That's kind of where we're at with that. And then, let's see if I can get you over to here. And this basically is the same thing on here. We had all these property lines running back, and when I got ready to do my final paperwork here for my easements and stuff, and turn this over, getting ready to turn this over to the subdivision, this, we realized like La Dolce Vita, like right here, there's a retaining wall right there, that this piece of property was really just a driveway for these properties. So I thought, well, I was going to donate that or dedicate that piece of property to the subdivision, you know, because it really don't need to belong to La Dolce Vita because I call it's number 4 Lafayette, but that's what it used to be. So, but so then when I did, then since we were going to replat that, he said, well, you know what? Now let's fix all this and get this, get everything in that cross easement, and create a. And just create a piece of common ground, you know, so everything up to the buildings is common ground all the way around. None of the parking changed. This here is the retaining wall it's in place down there now. It leaves Don with his 20-foot easement from the back of my wall to the back of his building here. And so this here, I used to be part of this subdivision of these lots, but now it's just going to be, right now our development company will just own it. One of these days, we'll probably transfer that to Don, you know, because I really don't need it with the subdivision. So it doesn't really serve any purpose because then they have, you know, they kind of have property that's beyond that fence that they have no control over. So we're going to have this be the new property line right here, and Don's property will be this. This will attach to Don's property. If that makes sense. So, a lot of line moving, but once we, you know.
It's a great project.
No thanks.
It's amazing what you've all done down there.
Yeah, we're moving along pretty good with we're working
Seems
really
like-
good
yeah,
with the
seems
city
like-
with the electric. So hopefully Amber's coming tomorrow to start hooking stuff up. So we're very anxious to get that done, get the streets open back up by the end of the month, hopefully. So,
Andy, this really doesn't have anything to do with what we're talking about tonight per se, but is that 4-story apartment building with the garage underneath going to be sprinkled?
I'm sorry?
Going to be sprinkled?
Oh, yes. Oh, yeah. 100%. Yeah, because of the 4 stories. It'd have a riser, you know, next to the elevator, because it'd just be just like a standard, like apartment building.
Okay, very good.
He's a happy man.
Well, the code's required, I just.
Yeah,
he
it
does. I just
He likes to double check me.
always mention it, you know?
Which is fine.
You have any other questions?
Yeah, anything else? Looks great. Super.
Thank you.
Thanks, Andy.
Thank you.
Any other business by board members or?
Well, I just
think
want
we
to,
have
I think last month I brought up that we were going to try and get a code amendment to have those boundary adjustments be done in-house. After talking to Mark, we realized that since boundary adjustments are amending a plat that was approved by ordinance, we won't be able to do that. So you will not see that code amendment come back before you anymore. So.
I'll entertain a motion on that last case.
Do you have to, is it all one, even though it's separate things?
Oh, I'm sorry, I went right into the other business section.
Yeah. I led you there.
You could have stopped me.
See, you're wrangling now.
We're going back.
I would do a motion to approve.
There's first and a second. All
I'll
those in
second it.
favor? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So moved. Now,
Said
any
my
other
piece.
business?
Said my piece.
If not, we'll entertain one last motion.
Motion to adjourn.
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So moved. Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
What Andy's doing down there really does.
Every time you drive by, it's better.
Although I will say,
Quicker than I thought it would.
Really awesome.
Good meeting.
Didn't lose too much money, didn't win, but.
I'll get your emails again, but I would invite everyone out within the next month.
Sorry?
Before the next meeting, I want to invite everyone out too.
Long way to go.
I'll get your emails and I'll send you guys within like a 2-week